Right, guys, welcome to the first ever episode of Behind the Hustle with me, Tej Chaggar. Sunny, welcome to the show.
Yo,
So, for the people that don't know you, give us an intro.
I think everyone that knows you probably knows me. Um, just like Ted said, I'm Sunny, and that's me. I'm Sunny. Well, you're gonna find out a lot about me now. So,
Looking up at you, bro, we started off as a business level, I think 20 years ago. Well, how long's it been?
yeah, it probably, let's say,
Yeah,
about
oh, wow,
14, 15 years
14,
ago, yeah.
15 years ago. So it started off as just business and it's turned into something much more than that. So just for everyone that's listening in, give us your start. Where did you start? How did you become Sunny Daheley that you are today? So that's what.
Me, daddy call. I just remembered something that I saw, I think,
I
Dr.
saw
Zeus
that
and
as well. Dr.
Jazzy.
Zeus.
Me,
Yeah,
mummy,
yeah.
daddy call.
All right,
Um,
let's rewind that. So basically, we all know you for Haveli, firstly. So how did Haveli come about?
so,
Give us a bit of that
uh,
pre-backstory to Haveli of
so I was at
uncensored.
uni early 2000s, and I went into. I was really interested in doing events pre uni. So as soon as I entered uni, so my first year at Kingston in London, I went straight onto the decks. Like I remember got given an opportunity to DJ my SU in the afternoon once, and then I was kind of putting myself out there. I met a promoter, quite a famous promoter at the time, a guy called Marky Mark, who was from
The
Punjabi
W squad.
his squad, yeah. So he came down to my uni to flyer his event, and I just went up to him and I said, "Hey, look, I'm a DJ. Give me a chance." And he took my number, and he passed my number on to one of his partners, who then about 3 months later called me in and said, "Can you do an hour slot in an hour, Bhangra student event, which was happening in London at a
On the
place
night.
literally like he called me at 8 o'clock at night and he said, "Can you come to Capital Club for I think 11 or 12 and just do a slot because our DJ is not coming tonight?" I said, "Oh, okay." It was a night called Hot and Spicy that used to happen every Tuesday at Capital Club, Leicester Square. And so I said, "All right, cool." So I had I put my potka on and I grabbed my vinyls at that time, and I left and I forgot my wallet at home as well. So I literally jumped in the car and I missioned it down there, and I did an hour set. I was at that point I was really dedicated, so I literally had spent a year and a half before that just constantly practicing with vinyls, and even like at home before uni, I had them set up. I used to be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just messing around. And, even when I moved into uni, into my accommodation, same thing there. And yeah, so I went in and he offered me a weekly slot, literally my first year. So so that basically went on to I got the Tuesday slot, I got the Friday night slot, which was open to all. Tuesday was students, Friday nights were open to all. Eventually, I got a bi-weekly rotation at a place called Hot and Spicy, sorry, Sweet and Sexy at Gas Club. That was every Wednesday, so that's every other Wednesday. Then the odd Thursday in Leicester at a place called Lounge One. And then Friday nights, I also went to, I don't know, Bar Bollywood, which was in London. So eventually, over like a 4 to 5 year period from 2000 and whatever, I don't remember now, early 2000s, we ended up DJing at so many club nights across the country, one-off events, regular nights, and we had the best time doing it.
You know what?
But
The first time I actually saw you or met you was Rouge.
Asian Woman magazine had a Saturday night called the Asian Woman magazine Saturday night. I can't remember the exact name. Also, we used to host the Bhangra floor, which is the basement, and we used to do from 9 o'clock at night, 9 to 4 a.m. non-stop. And I used to do majority of that myself, and I never played any song twice, and everything was off vinyl. So I mean, to play 6 to 7 hours of music and not play a track twice was like, but I was that so much into it that I was, like at that point, I know that I was good. I knew that I was good, and everyone around me knew that I was good. Even you, I didn't really know you that well, but you knew that we were doing bits And then obviously my other two cousins, Indy and AJ, East MC and Indy P, they mostly AJ, East MC used to call himself. We basically went on to do like biggest nightclubs in London, like Ministry of Sound and Equinox, and it was literally like at the age of 20, 19, 20 or 21, I don't remember, but it was like living the dream. It's like you're traveling the country, literally we went to Europe. We were literally just having the time of our lives. And then real life set in, right? So towards the end of uni, obviously like I had to do something. So joined the family business. And obviously while I was doing that, I was still doing bits and bobs in events. So then while I was finishing uni, I got involved in bigger events. So I did the Budget Man UK tour, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010. And I did Adnan Sami in 2005. So it was always something going on with events. And it took me like, on a promoting level, it took me to Wembley Arena, Birmingham NEC, Manchester Evening News Arena. I can't remember the name of the venue, Glasgow. But those are kind of venues that we were doing. So it literally went from nightclubs to arenas in a year. Obviously, I wasn't performing at them, but they were my events. So for me, it's like win-win. And then from there, you kind of, I was growing up, but then, you have to kind of do something in life. Like, I'm sure you know that you studied, but what you studied is not what you're doing. So it's like, what I studied is definitely not what I'm doing now in life. I mean, it's kind of helped me, but not
What did you
a lot.
study?
Business management, just like every other Indian kid in Kingston University, right? So, I mean, it kind of helped, but it kind of didn't at the same time. So I think world experience, life experience, work
And
experience is better. But it gave me a lot of life experience being at uni, how to live out on my own and stuff, especially, and how to meet people, how to keep good, like get to know friends who are actual friends and not
basically how to hustle,
how to hustle. Yeah. So as soon as that happened, I joined the family business,
which
which was basically we own a car workshop in North London. It's called Auto Crash Repairs. Probably one of the biggest repairers in North London at the time. So, I mean, we had a workforce of 50 at the time. So it was a fairly large business. So I joined that. And then my passion was always in events.
Mhm.
So my dad, which is really lucky for me, and I count my blessings that my dad kind of recognized that, this he's good at what he does. So let's try and see if we can do something in that. And then we eventually ended up purchasing a banqueting hall in Slough called Haveli. It was already running as Haveli. We purchased that, and then that became a project. And so that really made me me. I mean, I was always in the hustle. It turned the hustle into real life hustle. Because before it was like I was hustling, but I always had my dad or my mom or my parents kind of backing me to say, yeah, you can, if you don't hustle 1 week, you can still have a good night's sleep. You're still going to have money in your pocket because your mom and dad are there. You're still going to have a car on the driveway. But now it's turned to real life because if you do hustle properly, when you've invested so much time, effort, and money, then, there's actual real life risks like your house and a wage and, yeah, your car. And that actually started probably the most educational time of my life. Also the most traumatic 10, 12 years of my life. I learned what real friends are, the fact that, business doesn't stop for no one. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. If you're in debt, you're in debt. And the biggest thing that's come out of it is when you're winning, you have a lot of people around you. And when you're losing, nobody wants to know you. And not losing as in losing, but when you're not something, then you're literally overnight, you're dead. Because I went through so many phases in my life. So I've already told you about the DJ.
What age did you start Haveli at?
I was 22, I think. 22.
Oh, so young.
So
So
literally out of uni, yeah.
yeah.
Literally out of uni. 22, 23 at the most.
And what was that first feeling like when you got the keys to Haveli and you're like,
I know it was
open the
amazing because
door?
I remember my dad went through a lot. with solicitors and banks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because our business at the time was doing really well, so every bank was like charging towards us, like saying, we'll help you, we'll help you, we'll help you. So it was literally like a win-win situation. Yeah, the day we got the place, it was like I walked in there and I had a massive vision because I could see what was going wrong from an event side, like from a promoter side, and I had to learn the business, which I did very fast in a few months. And it was like the first 1 year was very educational. I lost two key staff members, the head chef, and I lost my general manager because of internal politics before we had bought the place. So there was a lot to learn. There was a lot to go through.
What was the
But
biggest struggle you think you had in the first year?
biggest struggle in the first year. So I think we purchased the place, if I'm not wrong, mid-June, July or something like that. So about this time of year. And so we're straight into wedding season, literally. Like
Uh-huh.
the place was packed. The restaurant was doing really well. The biggest struggle I had was not knowing the business. My head chef had basically decided after playing really dirty games, like disgusting games with me and my family, to leave. He gave his notice on Father's Day. So that's how I know Father's Day is around the corner. So he gave his notice on Father's Day and he gave me a week's notice saying I'm leaving in a week. The way he had manipulated me, I was 22, 23, so I was very easily manipulated, especially by someone who's a good chef, got a good background, worked in amazing places. So the food was really good. And like now suddenly like, our key member of staff is not going to be there. And I remember telling my dad the next day saying, oh, yeah, he's leaving in a week. My dad goes, that's okay, let him go. And I'm like, yeah, but what are we going to do? He's like, listen, the business will not stop for no one. Everyone is replaceable. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So literally, as he left the following week. And as he left, everything changed. The dynamic completely changed.
So
Profitability went up
just for people that don't know, the chef literally holds the key to the business. The food is made by the chef. Is that right?
by the chef. Yeah, yeah. So
He's the head chef that controls it all.
he had done the head chef. But what we had done was in the time that we were there, we recruited new chefs, sous chefs, helpers, whatnot. And they all had so much experience in different aspects of cuisine and hotels, and and soon as the head chef left, they all opened up like flowers. They were like, "Don't worry, we'll take over, we'll smash it." And I was just like, "All right, cool, I'll leave it in your good hands." And as a team at that point, we didn't have a head chef, and so as a team at that point, they literally took over, and they propped our business up so much that within 2 months of the guy leaving, our business flourished. It was crazy. I remember like I was waking up the next day and I had like 50 inquiries in my inbox or on paper, like people who had rang through and say we want to book an event, because it was just like it's kind of like, first of all, productivity is up, confidence is up, the staff are happy, so everyone is like working harder. They want to see the business do well. New owners, they're considered as good people, etc., etc. And then the other thing is like it's energy as well. So when that bad energy kind of leaves, then you're like, you know what, you flourish. It's like, when you water a flower, the flower's only going to grow, and this is exactly what was happening. We were basically watering ourselves, and we were growing. And then so all that happened in the first year. Eventually, we got another head chef. I think about another 2 or 3 months later, because we did need someone to steer the ship, so to speak, because our business was growing. We started catering in hotels, and like we were doing Radisson Edwardians and Marriott's and stadiums and Wembley Arena and O2 arenas. And from there, literally, it's like the chef was in doing his thing. I was out doing my sales, and then
And you're
it
still
ran.
23, 24, yeah? So
Yeah, at that
definitely.
point, I'm like, yeah. So the business is like now skyrocketing. Like the restaurant was busy 7 days a week, and the banqueting hall during peak periods and like holidays and etc. It was basically doing phenomenally well. Haveli built up a brand in the south of England really, really fast. We even got onto Sunrise Radio as a sponsor for the time. So the time sponsored by Haveli at 12:15 is 12:15.
Mm-hmm.
So every hour would be mentioned plus ads, and then we went on to doing Asiana bridal shows. We did, we literally done everything under the sun, like what people are doing now, to basically get our business out, and it was a success. And the problem is, when you're at that age, success at the age of 22, 23, 24, it can get to you. So even though I know I was quite humble my whole life, like I've tried to be humble when I was DJing, because it was always about image. You didn't want someone to turn around and say, "Oh, that's that guy. Look what he's doing." So it was always trying to keep that good image, keep humble. You got a family name. It's not something that you can, it's easily tarnished. So it went from that, and then in 2008, I don't know if you guys remember, we had a massive recession in the UK. And what is the first thing people do, Tej, when you don't have money?
You stopped
You
going out.
just stop going out. So a
Yeah.
restaurant died overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Just before that, we had spent, close to $500,000 on refurbing the entire joint. So the year before, in 2007. So we spent loads of obviously buying it, invested into decorating it, and then the recession came a year later, and we ended up, our restaurant it died overnight. Weekends were still very busy, but it was becoming evident that the recession had hit hospitality the hardest. And then on top of that, with the mis-selling of the loan, it took us about 3 years with a specialist to take them to court, eventually winning the court case, not getting much of anything back from them, apart from, sorry, and here's your damages, which was too late, which led on to about 2010, 2011, where I would literally say that was the lowest point of my Haveli stroke business career. And it was very tough waking up in the morning knowing that you've got debts coming out your ears, taxman knocking on your door, and not knowing how you're going to pay it, because 2008 recession hit. People had still were booking programs for 2009, but the people that booked in 2009 for 2010 were completely gone, because they were like, right, we need to save. Let's push our daughter's wedding back one more year. So between 2010 and 2011 was literally the hardest year at Haveli.
What would you say was like your darkest moment at that time that you thought that, you know what, it's all going to fall to pieces, or I need help, or I need to get out, or that moment that you have that gives you a bit of a wake up call?
Every day for probably 2 years, it was like that.
No.
I would wake up every morning thinking, my faith in God is a lot, and I never let it drop. But then you always kind of question, is it something that I've done? Is it something I've said to someone? Was it my ego tripping? But in that time, it was very dark. I turned to food. Like, I was a massive eater, pizza 3 to 4 times a week, chips, 3 to 4 times a week, and naan and paneer, like daily probably. And on the weekend, it was just like, I eat what I want, 10 samosa a day, like I turned to food to suppress that, whatever was going on, to suppress that darkness. And it was a very, very, very difficult time. I remember on one, Diwali was like, okay, for Sikhs it's big, but it's bigger for the Hindu community, because they celebrate it as the New Year, and all the staff are Hindus. They were majority Hindus, so on Diwali we'd literally open the morning. If it was a weekday, we'd literally open the morning, let the staff get all the orders out. Like people were having parties and stuff at home, so we would basically knock out loads of bigger orders, and we used to shut the restaurant by 6.
Well, Diwali.
But on Diwali every year. And then I would do, we'd go home for our normal Diwali with our family, and the staff would have their own kind of evening with either with their families or with each other in the restaurant, and they'd make food. I'd let them cook whatever they want. It'd be just like, it's a free for all. It's like Christmas, right? So like, do what you want, have a good time, drink what you want, eat what you want. I remember that day on Diwali, it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was so busy. orders coming out, and I see the door opening, and there's an Irish gentleman walking in, and I went, and I said to him, "Come on, man, it's Diwali. It's like our Christmas today. What are you doing here?" It was a tax
Who
man.
was he?
It
God.
was a tax man. And I said to him, "Come on, man." And he's like, "Well, mate, I don't care what day it is. I'm doing my job." And he literally came to collect. And I was like, okay. So luckily for me, it was a busy day, so I had some money there. So I was just like, all right, here we go, take it, you know. And that was a very dark day because I had to keep a really happy face for family, and nobody really knew what me and my dad were going through on a daily basis. So
I was gonna
it
say,
was tough.
did your family know what you were going through, or the
Yeah, I mean,
outside
like
community?
pretty much kept everyone I never ever told them the nitty gritty, but it was, I mean, it was tough. Like, I mean, when you have children, as a mother, and you need to feed your children, you won't question. You would just go out and buy the food. If you don't eat, that's fine. But as long as they're fed, it was like that for me with my place, because my staff were there, my customers were there. My staff were like children to me. Like I had to look after them.
Yeah, the family.
They're giving up their lives for Haveli. So
Mm.
I had to make sure that I had the supplies, and I had to make sure that we had enough money to pay their wages, which is tough some weeks. And business at the same time was still doing really well. Like, it seemed like from the outside world, Haveli was smashing it. We used to have programs. We used to have 6 or 7 events a week at the back in the banqueting hall, and the restaurant was doing fairly well. But it just wasn't making ends meet. At that point, because of the way that the interest rate was, the way that the business was like set up, it was really, really difficult. Lo and behold, a few years later, after a bit of a big mishap, we ended up selling it to a developer who has now turned it into a block of flats. But I mean, those were some of the low points.
So
You
let's
know,
go to the high points. Firstly, how important is having a good team around you?
it's massive. They have to, like, as a business owner, it doesn't matter if you have no staff. Like right now, I run my business without any staff. Everyone that works for me is a freelance basis. So, but even on that point, to have good, trusty people who you can try, you can give them any type of money or your keys to your house. That nothing's gonna happen. Like, that's the kind of people who, and that only comes with you being in the driving seat, knowing what you're doing, showing them that, yeah, there is dark days, but it's fine. We'll get over it. It's cool. God's there. He'll help us. And he always did. I have this one saying, and I've said it to you hundreds of times. Look, my boat is out to sea. But what you won't see is my boat will never sink. We go through mad storms and waves, but my boat has never sank. And because it's God who's driving the boat. He's there. Maharaj is there steering the boat, and he always was. And it was just me in the back riding the wave, and they're trying to teach me that, in life, there's waves, there's storms, but you got to go through it. And this is it. And in one way, like, sometimes I look back and I think, oh man, I lost my 20s to stress and food. I was so fat, like I was so overweight, and I lost my entire 20s and pretty much my early 30s to this. But I learned so much
Was
that
it
now
worth it?
was it worth it? Like, on a financial level, completely not. If you want to, it's like, I have friends that come up to me now and say, "Hey, look, can you give us some advice? We want to open a restaurant." I'll be like, there's easier ways to lose money. Just give it to me and I'll blow it somehow for you. But on a life sense, completely. As in, I learned everything about life from the time I picked up my first vinyls and put it on that decks at Capital Club till now. Everything has been a lesson, and everything has been blessings along the way. Even the baddest, hardest times, you realize later on in life, why did I know why I went through all of that. Obviously, that's for a different day, but I know why I went through it now. I'm 40 plus now. I know why I went through that. I know why I didn't have any friends. I know why people used me, even till today. Those same people, like, I do Desi Live. Everybody knows that I'm a partner in Desi Live. And those same people they're still there, trying to take the piss. I mean, sorry, my language, but they do. And now it's my decision: do I let them or don't I? And if I do, it's cool. It's at the end of the day, if they are, then they come, they do their thing, and then they leave. That's it.
And what was
As
that?
long as it,
Taking the peak, come to the restaurant, eating for free, coming free
I mean,
tickets to the events. Oh, Sonny, let
so
me
yeah,
borrow
like
some
Haveli,
money. Let me sort
yeah.
my event out. What was it?
So Haveli was like very well known for its dinner dances. So we used to do a Diwali one, Christmas one, New Year's Eve, and we never. One thing from my uni days is as a promoter, part of many promoting teams, I pretty much headed every single promotion company that I worked with. So when I was doing ministry and Capital, so Capital Club was run by a company called Hot and Spicy. I was the youngest member. I was at uni, so I headed it. It was basically my ideas. Let's go. When I started doing ministry and Equinox, there was a company called Bump and Grind. Again, I was the youngest guy in the team, and it was my ideas, my lineup. You can see it on my Instagram. I put it up there recently. I chose everything. Okay, I didn't fund it because I was too young to fund it, but hey, we sold it out. We made money. Thank you very much. When I got into Haveli, it was me, it was my ideas, and it worked. I mean, okay, not everything worked, but on the event side, yeah, we did. We were easily the leaders in private catering. We were probably the busiest banqueting hall in the whole of West London to Slough by far. We were the busiest restaurant, Indian restaurant by far. One thing I always said to myself was, when I do something, I always want to be the best at doing it. And with that mentality, I've got through everything. And you've been there, and you know how I do your head in about things. That I want things perfect. So we are. So people can say that, you know what, Desi Live is the best event to go to. It's the same thing with anything. Like even when we do the Smargam, you know, we get tired, so we miss out the small detail. But then there's a small detail that on Bunday probably don't know anything, but to us, we know.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
Going back to branding, right? Haveli become a household name at one point. I remember. How important was that brand to you, and how
Massive.
did you?
I remember, like, because you weren't on the scene then, so I got another company to do my rebrand at the time, and we messed around with some, obviously on a logo sense. The original logo was like some font you found on Word. It was really bad. It was like squiggly, heavily, and blue. So a year later, when we refurbished, we hired this company, and we made it maroon, and we bespoke to H, and then the rest of it, the AVELI, was a set font, but we bespoke the H, and then that basically became our
It's
kind of
iconic.
iconic. Yeah, it became our logo. It became Haveli, and I remember changing the menus and everything. With the guy who was helping me at the time really knew what he was doing, and he was basically saying, "Look, this is how you got to do it." I mean, I was young, so I didn't have 100% clue. I was learning as well. But when it comes to branding, yeah, I mean, it's everything. And then when you jumped in 2010, we took it to another level. Like our event artwork and our menus, our promotion, our website you done, it
Yeah,
took it to another level. We tried things that no other restaurant had done at the time, like even online ordering and stuff, like no one was doing it.
yeah.
We tried all of that, and it was definitely
I
a,
remember walking in that time, looking up at you and thinking, you know what? I want to be just like this thing. Because you see the
I
outline.
remember that.
You know what I mean? I'm
You
just
came
there
you came with the
with my,
hockey team, I remember, I
yeah, yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah.
You know
So
what,
we
like, the
come,
thing is, like, yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, when people see, like, this guy, he's driving a nice car, he's got his place, he's done like 10 years of events at that time, and he's got a reputation. You think, yeah, man, this guy's smashing it. Honestly, nobody knew how hard it was to go home at night and have a good night's sleep. I remember middle of the night, alarms would ring, the fire alarms would ring. I remember the first week into Haveli, somebody smashed our windows out of jealousy because we had an opening party and we had Harbhajan Mann and Sukhbir attend, and amongst other artists. And it ended up, somebody smashed the window in the middle of the night. So I literally just got home to bed. An hour later, I'm back hoovering up the glass. It was that crazy. So then, on the outset, it looked like catering in here. We got all these celebrities coming in. We had like Kumar Sanu, who was a regular visitor, the singer. But it was, nobody actually saw. Even now, look, no one sees, like, I mean, we try to put as much as we can on socials with Dissy Live, but even now, nobody actually sees how hard we have to work. Like, I would literally sit in this office until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, making content and videos and to making sure that our event has that edge, you know. But
So what would you say is your highlight of your business life? That one key moment you think, you know what, this is what I'm here to do.
So
Except
when
your
we
personal
first
stuff, just
no,
business wise.
so it's not. I would say it's not business related at all. I would say in 2014 when we did the Smargum,
Yeah,
everything I
yeah,
had learned from the age of 17
yeah.
till 2014. I don't even know how many years. I mean, it's 10 years ago, so 31. From 17 to 31
It's
or
been 10
30.
years for the Smargam.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. Yeah, this is our 11th year. So 2024 is the 11th Smargum.
Oh,
Last year was the 10th one. So since so I remember doing that, and I kind of thought to myself, you know what, this is where it's all led. Everything I've learned from 17 to the age of 30, all the events we've done at Wembley Arena and NEC and open air events and this event and that event, it all led to this one point. And I remember, like, we had never done it before, and there wasn't many around at the time. I think we were the second one that came about, and everything was so new, but we did it, and we know with God's grace, everything happens with God's grace. So with God's grace, it went really, really well. And I remember saying to you that, bro, this is it. This is the reason why I had to go through, 10, 15 years of events for this point. So it wasn't really business. I mean, but
but
it's a
still, that was a highlight.
realization.
It's a
Yeah.
highlight of life.
It's a type of hustle, if you want to call it that. But it's like, it's still part. I mean, the business led me to it, So, and we always say, like, if we can do something for the greater good, then we learn our the highs and lows of business brought us here.
How important are
And
friends in business?
friends are relevant. Friends change with your situation in life, any situation. I have had many friends pre-business from uni days. I had friends who were friends just because I was a DJ and I was a promoter, and they wanted to get free entry to my events and stuff, which is fine because, at that age, you don't really care. You're popular, right? You don't really care. So it's cool. Then you have friends, like, after that, friends who just wanted to come to Haveli to eat for free or enter the gigs for free or whatever, which is cool. Like, again, you kind of allow for it. But then there was a point when I sold Haveli in 2016 for about 2 years. I literally didn't have a single friend. I think you maybe bar one other guy were my only friends, because at that point I was nothing apart from doing the Smargum, which wasn't cool enough. You know what I mean? I had no friends because nobody wanted to know me. So even when I used to go to functions or events, I was not the important person anymore. That's kind of like, like you've been at the forefront of everything, events and stuff, since the age of 17, 18. And now suddenly, you know what? You don't have Haveli anymore. And now you're Mr. Nobody, literally overnight. And I would go places, like walk into places or other restaurants or, events, parties, weddings, whatever. And people would just be like, he's here. It's cool. We don't need to say hello to him anymore. It literally
Because he's not
overnight.
important. He's not important
Yeah,
anymore.
no, literally. And that kind of taught me, like, you know what? I used to say to everyone in my family, like, I feel weird because, and it hits your ego. Like, it hit my ego a lot. Because everyone, look, we can't deny we have egos. We all have egos. We can't deny it. So it hit me like, wow, man, I've literally, gone from all that, I've sacrificed 10, 12 years of my life. My health has been on, and it's not been the greatest. I was so overweight. Mentally, I wasn't, when I sold Haveli, I took 6 months off pretty much to just sit and do nothing and watch Netflix and get more overweight. Obviously I did stuff, but it was like a shock for me. And in that 6 months, I felt like I had lost friends, so-called friends, and, a lot of other things were going on. And then from then until now, so you kind of realize that friends change with stances. So around that kind of time, 17 or 18, I kind of started paying more interest in my health, started losing weight, and then started doing bits and bobs with
What
events
was
and
that
stuff.
wake up call? Because obviously you went through a phase where it's like, this has happened, X, Y, Z, I'm overweight, your health was deteriorating. What was that wake up call? That one motivation to say, you know what, I need to sort myself out.
Um, my grandma. So we were sitting one day in my living room, and she just completely told me off in Punjabi. She goes, "Ah, dekh tu banya ki hoya." She goes, "What are you? Look at you." She goes, "Come on, let's go for a walk." My grandma was an avid walker. At that time, she wasn't walking. So I went out for a walk. I literally went down the road and I was out of breath. And I thought to myself, oh God, I am so unfit. I was size 50, I think, pretty much belt size, waist size 50. And I was like, this is not good. So I literally overnight, like, every day I'd add 10 more minutes to my walk, to a point where I was dropping, like, in about 6 weeks, I had dropped like freaking 15 kg or 20 kg, or it was literally 1 kg a day. Like, that's how much excess and how much I wasn't moving to burn the fat. And at that point, it was just like, my body, I could feel it. I wasn't strong. I could have been pre-diabetic. I didn't know. It was so many like symptoms that I was feeling related to being overweight at that age. So I decided, like, enough's enough, and I literally woke up one day and decided, that's it, I'm going to do it now. And I was 14 kg roughly, and today I'm about 79 kg, 78 kg. Still got a long way to go, but you know, again, everything comes with realization. Everything happens at the right time. If you keep, God strong in your heart, you always find a way. Going back to your friend's question, your true friends actually want to see you progress, and they will help you. They will go out of their ways for you. It's never about money. Money doesn't come into it. If they can help, all good. The true thing is, like, actually being there for someone, talking to them mainly, but just being there to say that it's cool, we're here. Not just because I'm not cool anymore. And at that point, I did lose a lot of friends. But then it's funny because obviously now life is very different, and we're doing things again, and certain friends want to be friends again.
How lonely is business life though? Because people don't understand that. They just see the outside and think, oh, you're in business, you're networking, you're with these people, you're going out here, you're going out there, you're attending these events. But really, truly, just to give an idea, like, how many friends do you have? Or
No, no,
how lonely are you?
I have business friends, but friends, like, the older you get, the more you realize that, friends are not worth it. And, and yeah, loneliness it's there, but then you kind of got to train yourself to say, you know what, loneliness is basically down to you. If you want to be lonely and you want to feel lonely, then yeah, okay, it is a thing at the moment with, mental health and stuff. So some people feel lonely and they can't shake that feeling of loneliness. So I'm not bashing feeling lonely and it's an individual person's fault. No, but when you're doing, like, what I tend to do is, if I do, or if I have felt like, yeah, I feel a bit weird, like doing things, I just think of something else. Like, let me think of another idea. What can we do? Yeah, I mean, we we're really, like, particular about what we put out. Like, any business should be. You don't want to be putting out, shit or crap artwork. It just doesn't work.
How important is it to be working with an agency, with a design agency or a designer? Or, for example, how important has TS Designers been to your business?
Massive. Like, if you see the stuff that I produce, yeah, it's awful. So I would do it and give it to you, and then you'd make it look professional. I mean, you could do it in probably an hour when it take me 20. So we'd probably get there eventually, but it would be like a lot of toing and froing. But it is important for someone who does it daily, like yourself. You know what you're looking at. As long as you've got your brief in place, you have your vision, then it's easy.
Or even throughout Haveli, like how much of a role has a design agency again, TS Designs
Mm,
had on Haveli?
massive, massive. So from 2010, when you took over, everything was based around that. Social media was kicking in, so Facebook was big. It was kicking in around that time. So I remember we used to put out events on Facebook. Within a few hours or half a day, we'd have like an explosion of people,
I mean,
attending
like
the event.
every
Yeah,
Friday used to be Haveli Day. I used to bring my laptop, I used to sit there, and
yeah.
that was it. Sonny, give me your content. What we doing? What we doing? And
That's
yeah,
it. Like
that became my office.
redesigning menus. Again, really important because the first thing that the customer would see is the menu card, and that everything's visuals. If it sounds good, like papadi chaat, it's like our papadi, we made it fresh in the restaurant. But if the description's good, and if it looks, and if there's a good picture, for example, or if they see the next table, what's that? I like the look of that. Everything is about design, even the way you place your food. Because there's some restaurants you go to, the food is good, but it's just so boring to look at. And then like there's restaurants that have been around for like 40 years that you think, wow, man, the food is really good, but it's so boring. It's just in a little bowl, and it comes with a spoon, and they put a little bit of cream on top and say, here's your paneer, and the naans. If you make it look visually good, anything that looks visually good, you eat with your eyes first. Then, and if it tastes bad, you'll be like, okay, it's not too bad. It looks really good. It's like when you go to a wedding, yeah, the catering's always hit and miss at weddings. But because it looks decent when it comes out, the tables look good, the decor looks good. You'll be like, you know what? They done really well. The food was okay. I haven't been to a wedding where the people have turned around and said, you know what? The food was amazing. And that's what I wanted at Haveli. Everything is about visual presentation, from branding to logos, to even like the menu cards we used to give, the ones that used to design on the tables at weddings. And
He's
um,
customizing for the
it's
client.
customized for every
Yeah,
client.
yeah,
We bought special printers where we would print
yeah,
them
yeah.
at Haveli. We'd fold them, put the inserts in, and we'd make sure that we'd always have, and everything was always down to. And I actually learned that a lot from other caterers, watching bigger caterers. When I attended weddings and looked at the menu cards and the way they did things, and I think, yeah, I want to be like that. That's what I want to do. And I used to implement it straight away. I used to go in on the next day and say, all right, chuck that in the bin. We're starting again. Order things off the net. That's all part of the hustle, because that will actually take you up to the next step. If you get comfortable in any business, then you're better off not running it.
If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be?
I don't regret anything, but I probably wouldn't have done it really.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't regret it. If I could change one thing in business, I probably would have. There's probably better places to invest, but I don't regret it. I've learned everything in life from there. I met so many people, like lifelong friends from there. Yeah, we're kind of related, right? So we met lifelong friends from there. I learned a lot, and I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't change my life in that sense. That I've learned a lot from being in Haveli in good times, bad times. I sometimes think back and I remember things and I think, wow, man, do you remember that? Do you remember that? Do you remember this? Do you remember that person? Do you remember that person? I hear now like a lot of my old clients who have passed away in old age and stuff, and think, oh yeah, I remember him. You know, those things you can't buy, and that came with that. I remember I made friends with so many elder people who are not with us anymore, because they used to come. I remember one gentleman used to come and eat sarg every Thursday. He used to sit on his own. I used to sit with him, and you can't buy those things. Like just sitting with somebody like that, who's elder than you, who's got a lot of knowledge, and then finding out years later they're not around anymore. It's like, you cherish those moments and think, yeah, you know what? I'm glad that I met him when I did. And I don't know what impact he had on my life, but obviously he's had some, because I still remember him or her. And there's been many clients like that. So yeah, apart from that, all these things, I probably wouldn't have. But again, who was I to say?
It's destiny. It's supposed to be as meant to be.
Yeah.
So, just for people that are watching, what's the one piece of advice that you'd give someone that's starting a business or wants to start a business?
If you've got an idea, go with it. Go with the idea. Don't back down, because you know you have a vision, and if you don't follow through with the vision, you don't know if it would work or not. It could, you don't want to be there a year or two or a few months later to say, shit, I could have done that, or what could have been. If it doesn't work, you'll never know. So just go and just do it. And literally, if you're going to do it, branding right now is key, and social media is key. Learn social media, learn Instagram, learn TikTok. I'm not good on TikTok, pretty decent on Instagram now, but it comes with teamwork. So yeah, learn it. If you can't learn it, find someone who'll do it for you. But if you can make it work, because if it looks good on Instagram, you're more than likely, or wherever on social, you're more than likely to get people through your doors for what you're buying or you're selling or whatever you're doing, or whatever service you're providing. It's all about how you present yourself, and branding is key. Your logo is key. If you like, give it a gimmick, give it a funny logo, give it a mascot, do anything, If you don't try, you won't know.
For someone else wants to start up in the food industry?
Food industry, there's a lot of scope in food. There is a lot of money to be made. Try and find an edge. The edge in London, the last sort of 10 years has been these cafes like Dishoom, and the kind of chai places, they've popped up everywhere. There's so many street food places. So, I mean, there's always something next. So after the traditional Indian restaurant that we all used to go to, they're still around, but they've all turned to like street food places. Even the traditional Indians are doing street food. So there's always something to do. There's always the next idea. So just be one step ahead and say, what is the next idea? If you want to be a caterer, what can you do that's different?
Be different, be authentic, be real.
Yeah.
And don't stop hustling.
Hustle. If you've got an idea, you just got to go with it. Simple as that. There's nothing. If you don't have the himmat, the courage to do it, just try it. Just put it out. Just make an account on Instagram. If people like it, then you're already on a winner before you even do it. Just do it. That's the only way. Anyone that comes to me, any of my friends have said to me, I want to do it. This is the idea I have. You know what? I have and I will help them and say, look, cool. Let's do your logo. Let's do a website. Sort your Instagram out. Let's do this. Let's get, branding in. Let's get clothes in. Let's get uniforms in. Let's do anything. Even if even if it means you have to spend time on them, happily do it. Because at the end of the day, that product, once it works, you're on it. That's it. It'll go forever. The other thing, like, we make mistakes as businessmen, is this is the biggest mistake we make as a business owner. For example, with Haveli, and this is a typical Asian trait, an old Asian trait, is that you start a business to run it your entire life till you die. So you will literally see some uncles who are in their 60s still in their restaurants, still same decor, the same chairs, the same everything. But if you take a leap out of Westerners' book, like somebody lives in the West, born here, who's doing something, they don't think like that. They think, let's grow a business to a point where we can sell it and have a good life, or sell it and invest in another business and start again. Because ultimately, you do business for a good life, or you want to earn money for a life.
So find your exit strategy, basically.
You should have an exit.
Yeah.
So when you're peaking is when you should start thinking about, what? Because when people peak, they think, oh, they're going to peak forever. Trust me, they don't. No business peaks forever. Every business, unless you're a massive multinational company who has millions and billions going in, like British Petroleum, like BP or McDonald's, or any of these kind of brands, like, if you're doing well on a local, national level and you're a privately owned company, think of an exit strategy. There's always someone out there who is willing to buy you out or invest into your business. Always. Because at the end of the day, these guys want to make money. They want to take your model. And I had that. People came to us. People came to me and say, we want to franchise it. And I used to say, nah, I'm not interested. That was my ego. Why would I give it to you? I'll just do it myself. Some guy in North London wanted to do it. He's like, and I was like, no, I'll do it myself. I actually went out and I just got lazy and I never bothered, at a position where I could have. But in hindsight, if I think about it now, I should have branded it out, because the name was massive, and I could have easily, opened a place in North London, South London, Birmingham, Wolverhampton, up north in Leeds, maybe even Glasgow, because I was getting offers. And I remember a company approaching us 3 years in saying, "We want to buy you out." And I said no, or I gave them a really stupid offer, which they refused, obviously. But then again, they're probably one of my worst decisions. If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd probably say no, take it, because I could have gone into something else. I could have gone back into events.
Well,
Could
here's
have
a
opened another
question.
place.
If you didn't have a value, what would you have done? If you had your dream job, you could have been anything. You could have done anything you wanted to do. What would you
Probably
have
would
done?
have. No, more than likely, I was a bit young, so I would have carried on the events, I think, and I would have probably gone into property, because that was kind of the thing that my dad was doing at the time. But again, look at the property market now. I at this point, if I had like 30, 40 houses on rent and this and that, like a lot of my friends do, they have like flats and houses, and they're all the score, man. They're all suffering because interest rates are high and rents are low, so they're not even getting their rentals, their mortgages paid off. So that there's always something somewhere. Like it doesn't matter. Like if I'd done that, I would have been in problems. So the problems are always gonna
Just
be
life,
there
mate.
somewhere.
Yeah, let's not get into
Yeah.
that. Anyway, so just to wrap this up. So firstly, thank you for your time. Thank you for the
No
push to
problem.
actually starting this. So like I said, episode 1. For the next guest that's going to be on here, we don't know who it is yet, but what question would you have for them? Obviously, they'll be in business as well.
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Anything.
The next guest question for you would be, what made you do it?
Okay, good. We'll follow
What
that
made you
on.
do it?
And any final words?
Final
Oh, and
words?
by the way, there's going to be a part 2 coming out as well with me and you again. And that's going to be
Yeah.
Desi Live exclusive.
Desi Live, Tej Chaggar, and Bercy Smargam. A bit
Versus
more on
Smargo as
that.
well in a couple of weeks.
And my last word of advice is, like if you like going back to that, if you've got an idea, follow it through. What's the worst that's gonna happen? That's it. What's the
That's
worst
it.
that's gonna happen? You won't get any business as long as you plan it in a way that you're not over investing. Obviously, you've got to spend on branding and stuff, but it doesn't cost thousands to do branding these days. A good agency is very reasonable.
And what's a good agency out there?
Let's not name any names, innit? Let's not name any names. But obviously, this podcast is aimed at TS Designs, like how they've helped people like me in my various endeavors. Tej will also tell you, going back to that last point, is that I've actually had loads of ideas over the last 20 years, 15 years, and a lot of them, they don't work. So he's probably got a folder on his computer with my name with about 20 different logos and different company names. But
Like the
again,
ones that have worked.
worked, yeah. And the ones that haven't, that's fine. Maybe for another day. The ideas are still there, So like one day, you never know. But if you don't know, if you don't try, you don't know. So just got to go with it.
Final words?
That's it, bruv. Just do it.
Just do it. Peace out.
Safe.
Behind the hustle.